This is the Vaguely Nerdy Podcast, where every week this brother and sister duo gets together to discuss box office, latest film and TV scoops, along with our latest TV or show review, and what we're getting into next. We're your hosts, Cheryl
and Jane.
All right, it is Jared's turn to ask me trivia. I'm assuming it's Goosebumps related, yes?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. Hit me with it.
Okay, so, and I couldn't find official sales numbers or actual stats for this, so this is just a consensus based off on a bunch of different surveys.
Okay, all right.
So guess the top 3 most popular Goosebumps stories.
This should be easy.
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dummy.
Okay, that's number 3.
Oh, Say Cheese and Die.
Nope, it's not in the top 3.
The one with the mask?
Yes.
Where it gets stuck to her face?
Yeah,
okay.
The haunted mask. That's number 2.
That's more than Say Cheese and Die?
Yeah, it's more than Say Cheese and Die.
That's weird.
And this is across the multiple lists.
People are weird.
Yeah.
And the last one, give me a hint. Anything. Just give me anything.
Okay, so it is about a fictitious, amusement park.
Oh, I'm not gonna know the name of it, but I think I know what you're talking about. What is it called?
One Day at Horrorland.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, given that the entire Goosebumps Horrorland series is based around it.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the most popular Goosebumps stories. Yeah.
I'm gonna say Cheese and Die is actually supposed to be number 1.
Say Cheese and Die on this particular list is number 10,
what?
but like I said, there's no I was looking for stats that said these are the most popular based on sales. It doesn't seem like that data is around anymore.
Yeah.
And that's probably because I don't think I've ever purchased a Goosebumps book. They're just usually always available at the library. So
Okay. You know what? Did we have them as we might have gotten them. The ones that I've read might have been from the library. But
yeah, they're like a Scholastic Book Fair thing,
right? I feel like I had hand copies because Night of the Living Dummy, I think I used to put away somewhere because I didn't like looking at the cover.
Some other very popular ones are Say Cheese and Die. Don't Go Down to the Basement.
Yes.
And Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Which I don't know what that one is either. There's 62 Goosebumps books, though. So
I don't think I've read all 62.
This is the top handful out of the 62.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, so that is the trivia for this episode. Let's get into it. Welcome, fellow movie buffs. I'm Jay.
I'm Cheryl.
Listen in as we break down movie and TV shows, tell you what's in the plot, and hear if we think you should have watched it when you had the chance.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. So for this week, drama, I guess we'll call it drama news in the movie and TV space. But we have news about Marvel's Disney Plus show Daredevil, A24, which we mentioned last time, and how that whole buying of Halloween panned out. Aquaman 2 drama. I'm just going to leave it at that. More updates about the SAG-AFTRA strike, and then trailers.
Yeah.
We got some good trailers this week, I will say. And then we'll round out the show as always with our Goosebumps recap and review. And we did the first 3 episodes of Goosebumps. So right now there's 5, but we only watched the first 3. So that's what we'll chat about at the end. Sweet. All
right. So Marvel's got some stuff going on that kind of all just dropped in the same day. So the headlines kind of started rolling in that Marvel had fired all of the writers, directors, and producers that were signed for the Daredevil Born Again reboot. It's taking the Daredevil series from Netflix, doing a soft reboot.
Because it's not a continuation of Daredevil. Because it's not a
continuation. It's a continuation of the character, but not of the story.
Not of the Netflix story.
So think of it as it's a separate set of comics, and they're just doing a different writer. Because not all the comics are connected. It's about a different story. So
sometimes
it's like
they reboot and it's a whole different...
Right. So it's like a different comic chapter for the character.
Okay.
So basically, all of the writers, directors were let go. Marvel says that they want to do a complete overhaul of the series.
Significant creative reboot is what they called it.
The word was that Kevin Feige saw some of the footage because they were already like in the middle of filming Daredevil.
They only got, I think they were less than half of the first season had filmed by the time the strikes hit.
Yeah. So
they weren't nowhere near done.
They screened what they had to Kevin. He did not. It doesn't say he did not like it, but it says that he was what they had was just
not the vision.
It was unusable for going forward.
Not the not panning out apparently how they thought it should. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness, and in my opinion, this is good news, that they saw what was coming and they decided to say, this ain't it.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like the actors are changing.
No.
It just seems like it seems like now the only thing they have is the title and the actors.
Yeah, they say, now we'll never know this, but they say they're saving some of the scenes and some of the episodes or some pieces of the episodes, but we'll never know because we won't have seen that finished product. But it doesn't look like any of the actors are changing. Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin, came out and said kind of like, we want this to be the best show possible.
He was kind of positive on it.
Yeah, come on, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like they're switching out and swapping out any of the actors. So that's also a good sign. And they're not like, actually, we decided we're getting rid of everybody and starting over, which would be even worse.
So there was nothing confirmed, but rumors going around that basically how they were shooting the show was kind of like half superhero, half legal drama.
Kind of like She-Hulk.
Like Suits, but with Daredevil in it.
Oh.
And
She-Hulk was kind of like that, but I guess in the second half of once she turned into She-Hulk, you saw her every episode.
I think Daredevil is supposed to be a lot more dark and gritty, and She-Hulk is supposed to be in the same genre, but just not as dark.
Right.
So trying to turn Daredevil into She-Hulk probably was looking like an extremely bad idea.
Yeah.
Daredevil is supposed to be like, you're supposed to question his actions, kind of like you question Batman. Like, okay, Batman, is this the right thing to do? This seems a little dark. You're supposed to feel that way about Daredevil.
Stabbing that man the right call right now.
You're not supposed to. Daredevil shouldn't feel like Seinfeld, which is what She-Hulk kind of felt like.
Okay.
Intentionally.
Like a sitcom. Okay. And it's that everybody, the Twitter feed was ablaze because everybody's like, oh no, Marvel's down. Like, this is the thing to say now. Marvel sucks and they're destroying it and they're ruining it. It's like, no, actually, this is a good sign that they finally are waking up to see that maybe we should do things a little differently.
They were listing all these little things that they were making, these internal decisions. Like, for example, shows will have proper showrunners and they'll write plots and show Bibles. Apparently, before they were just giving directors and producers titles and just saying, hey, shoot it like a movie, cut it where you want to, and which is
crazy.
Do whatever you want.
Because TV shows have pilots, where you do that first cut, that first episode, and you're like, okay, this works or this doesn't work.
And that's why every show's first episode looks so much different from the rest of the series. Because after
houses,
that pilot, you get the budget.
Hair.
Yeah, you get the budget like, and you get the production notes.
Right. So they weren't, but Marvel they weren't doing that, and now they say that they are.
They're going to switch over to full-time TV execs versus using film executives for TV, which makes more sense. I don't know why. I did not know that. I mean, it makes sense because they were shooting these shows like very long movies, but I just did not know that they really didn't have people who had a history on working on TV actually working on a show.
Because they were trying to just pump things out and taking shortcuts, and it is proven. With some of these shows, it is proven that was not a great idea.
And one of the last notes was that they're stepping away from a limited series format, and they're going to focus more on like a regular, like a week-to-week show run,
or a season-to-season show run.
Season, yeah, they're going to focus on producing shows that have multi-season potential instead of like
Loki,
a one-off where you kind of have to guess whether or not there'll be a second season.
Right.
So my thoughts on this were, this should be the rule for. I don't know why this is listed as specifics for the MCU. I feel like this should be the rule for all Disney Plus series.
Correct.
Not just MCU shows. Because it's not only MCU shows that have this issue. Book of Boba Fett had this issue.
Oh, you're right. Star Wars.
Mandalorian season 2 had this issue. Yeah, Ahsoka kind of suffered from this issue.
But a lot of these changes, especially when it comes to pilots, showrunners, TV execs, or maybe just the pilots and the showrunners and the show Bibles, a lot of this came about due to the writer's strike deal.
Yeah.
And them making these changes because this new deal got struck, and they're kind of like, y'all need to implement the things in the contract because clearly it's not working for y'all.
So yeah, Marvel kind of leaked it to all the news publications that they kind of made these decisions themselves, and they used, it was funny because in a lot of the excerpts they used the same words, the same phrasing, like internal criticisms, and then it was the other writers on Twitter like, the internal criticisms were us protesting that you guys should listen to us and follow our directives when it comes to writing these TV shows.
Right.
So
another win for the writers, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this was 100% done and demanded. A lot of writers were like, no, these things that they're listing out as changes that they're making, that they've realized themselves that they need to make. These things were like requirements in the strike language.
And it just not having pilots, and I'm not super familiar what a show Bible is, but the title alone kind of tells you what it is. And it's like you were creating shows without like a dictionary, an encyclopedia to follow. Secret Invasion is the perfect example of that not working.
Yeah. So I think this should be the standard set of rules for all Disney Plus series. They have this issue with dragging very thin plot lines across long episodes and calling it a limited series. But the thing is, so
at the end, you're like, so where did we go?
They take these plot lines from comics or from their source material, and they strip out comics, MCU specifically, like Secret Invasion. Yeah. They strip out a lot of the good stuff that adds context to the point of the plot.
So make it a limited show.
And then they make it a limited show, but they still make the show too long because you've ripped out all the good stuff and you made it thin, but you're still making us
two problems at the same time.
You're still making us sit here for 8 episodes of something that you've already watered down so much. And sometimes the finales of a limited series has to hit harder if it's a limited series because it's limited and you don't know if it's going to come back. Right. So you can't fumble the ending on a limited series.
At the end of the show, if you're just kind of like, oh, when you feel like, it was okay. Did I really need to watch that? So this is good. This will be better for writers. This will be better for us as viewers. Ultimately, this will be better for Marvel and Disney. It's probably going to have to go through some growing pains, but this news is actually good news in a sense of better content. Well, listen, we're not, Lord willing, we're not going anywhere. So we can wait for better shows.
So Halloween has a new home.
This is Halloween.
Halloween was...
Wrong TV show.
So Halloween used to be housed under Blumhouse, which did the last trilogy, which was the Jamie Lee Curtis soft reboot.
That was loved. That was classic.
Loved until those last 2.
Oh. Right.
It was like it was like the first one was really good, and then Halloween Kills was like, oh, okay, you can come back, and then Halloween Ends was like, wow, y'all really slept through the writing of this one. I much enjoyed
the discourse over the last Halloween, even though I see it, because people were like,
it was bad. It wasn't good at all.
What is this?
Yeah, so it wasn't good at all.
Interesting.
Halloween is now under Miramax, which will be producing anything involving film and TV. It was in a brief bidding war. I feel like it probably went on for longer than a week, but it felt like it only lasted a week for us.
We just talked about this last episode. So for us and the general public, they've been fighting for a week. But yeah, that deal got closed up like 2 days ago.
So Miramax is a big legendary production house, has been around forever. A24 is more recent. A24 has done smaller films like Hereditary, Midsommar.
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won an Oscar.
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me, which just came out and is doing really well. People heard that A24 was in the bidding war to buy Halloween and got understandably excited because
it made sense. Is Conjuring and whatnot is not A24?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I believe that's under WB.
Oh. Yeah.
But A24 has the master of small budgets. But really good films that are artsy and they're really good at scary films because horror films, as we know, are the cheapest films to make.
Yep.
And a lot of their films are have like an artsy spin on it.
X, your favorite.
A24 said that they wanted to change. They wanted to course correct just a little bit, not stop doing what they've been doing, but they also want to jump into the blockbuster arena as well.
Listen. Anytime you want to jump into blockbuster and IPs, your indies are going to take a backseat. Best intentions are there, I'm sure, but come on. Especially when those start making the money.
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's sad.
Bittersweet news.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because I like them being small, but also I'm sure that with all the popularity that they've gotten in a very short amount of time,
Twitter did not like the news that A24 was about to pivot.
They have to try. They can't just make the same amount of money forever. They have to make more money. So
they are a business at the end of the day.
If trying to acquire Halloween was the first step in their idea of jumping into blockbusters, I'm fine with that because Halloween is a great franchise.
It was a good fit
to start with, and it has everything that you would want to have for a small studio that doesn't have huge billions of dollars to spend on these IPs.
Unfortunately, Miramax had more.
Miramax had more because it's Miramax. It's just they've been around forever. They've made big budgets forever, and probably just had more trust from the people who were sitting at the table.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it was a numbers game. I'm sure it was a numbers game.
You put down that they lost $35 million to Beau is Afraid.
So, and all of this news that was coming out about A24 pivot, them losing Halloween to Miramax. One of the topics or one of the bullet points was that A24 is trying to pivot because they're not making as much money on these indie movies, which is explainable, obviously, because not as many people go see indie movies. But one movie that came out this year or early, I'm not sure when Beau is Afraid came out, but they said that they lost $35 million to the movie Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody went to go see that.
Which starred Joaquin Phoenix, and it's
an Oscars contending movie. It
came and went real quick.
It's supposed to be like the Wizard of Oz.
Is that what it was? Because it wasn't it looked like not a horror. It didn't look like a thriller, but it definitely has some weirdnesses going on.
It's supposed to be a very cerebral film that is based on the Wizard of Oz.
Okay. A24 is trying to pivot because they need to survive. And buying Halloween was one of the things they were trying to do. But I'm curious to see what they're kind of going to go after next.
I was very interested in seeing an A24 Halloween.
Oh,
and
I might have watched that.
I was interested in what it would look like.
Too scary for me. Never mind.
I would have been interested in what it would look like. But I'm sure we'll just get more of the same now that it's with the Miramax.
It depends on who they get. Well, okay, they did Scary Movie 4.
Yeah.
All right, never mind.
Miramax has been around for a very, very, very long time, but they don't produce like big.
They have some. So, Pulp Fiction, Good Will Hunting. Now, mind you, these are all old movies. I'm trying to find something that's recent that was like not cheesy.
They did Sin City.
Okay, that's old.
Yeah. So.
The DCEU was cursed. And I've been saying it since I don't know how long.
Well, at least it's dying.
And the curse is continuing with Aquaman 2. And I thought that maybe Aquaman 2 would be like easy breezy, beautiful cover man.
That's because there's no stakes in it.
James Gunn has obviously said enough to where Aquaman 2 doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
No.
It's going to be a real beautiful gowns type movie. And this past week, the whole thing came out about it behind the scenes where, according to Variety, Jason Momoa showed up to the set drunk. And now I don't believe this part. Not that part. But the part about him dressing up as Johnny Depp.
I think he just looked like a bum.
Listen,
they both look like bums. So.
They both dress like that bohemian boho, I don't really shower that much.
They both dress like bums.
Clothing style.
So he came up to set drunk and slurring. Dressed like a bum. He already has like.
Say he was Jack Sparrow on set.
Yeah,
is what is allegedly, y'all. I don't think Jason Momoa hasn't said anything about this. I think maybe some reps for the director kind of came out and
these
said
are just
that's not
insider
true.
Reports.
Yes, this
Which
is
is
tea,
very,
y'all.
very vague in quotations. Insiders.
Unconfirmed tea by a popular trade. So take that how you will. But the Johnny Depp part was not funny, but I thought that Jason Momoa was trying to do his best Johnny Depp in Fast X. So the correlation, I was like, y'all, that's how he always act. I don't think he's trying to be Johnny Depp. I just think he has, he got that inner channel kind of thing going on. But that was one thing. The other thing that came out about Aquaman 2 was that Amber Heard has had 2 scenes that got cut. And apparently they were just trying to get rid of her from the movie altogether.
Amidst the Amber Heard v. Johnny Depp
trial that
was going on
and on and on. There was also in that article that Elon Musk, who I don't know if I knew that him and Amber Heard dated, and I don't know if I cared to know. Elon Musk allegedly, quotes, sent a letter on the behalf of Amber to WB to keep her from getting fired from Aquaman 2.
He burned the studio down.
And apparently they said, sure, Elon, we'll keep her. Like, what? This doesn't make any type of... This is why they cursed.
Yeah.
This is why they are cursed. This is why Aquaman... I'm afraid of what Aquaman 2 is going to make at the box office. Because just like The Flash, right before The Flash came... Or actually, months prior to The Flash coming out, there was drama. And people were like, you know what? Actually... I don't think I'm going to go see this.
Yeah, I don't care about this. Neither of these people, Jason Momoa or Amber Heard, are big enough stars to have behind-the-scenes drama that anybody would care about. Amber Heard's basically done acting. Jason Momoa is not too much better off. There's word that he's going to be the new Lobo in the DC universe, which is kind of like DC's answer to... It's like DC's answer to Deadpool.
But do we want
in
it,
that
though?
Style of characterization?
Do we want it?
Deadpool is really liked in the Marvel fandom, so Lobo definitely has his fan base.
Okay, pause. Jason Momoa versus Ryan Reynolds. Who's more popular?
I don't think any of them are a better actor than the other.
I didn't say that. I didn't say who's better actor.
I think Ryan Reynolds is only more popular because of Deadpool.
But
and Mint Mobile.
Do you think they're at the same level of popular to where we know for a fact Deadpool 3 is going to do numbers? Is Jason Momoa going to be able, just be name alone, going to be able to do that for Aquaman 2?
I think if Lobo is successful, it can put him in a Ryan Reynolds space, because if Deadpool was not successful, we would not be talking about Ryan Reynolds.
Okay. You know what?
Because the last thing Ryan Reynolds did was...
Don't say it. Red Notice.
No.
Oh.
Before he was Deadpool, he was the Green Lantern. You remember that movie?
Okay. So
that didn't do anything for him career-wise.
You're right. Deadpool did revive his career. I mean, I guess, but it's just they cursed. I'm sorry.
But the whole point of me saying that was that it's word that he's gonna be Lobo. I think that's just a lateral move. That's not career advancement for Jason Momoa.
He's playing just another superhero.
He's the closest thing to keeping his job at DC than the rest of the main characters of the DCEU were. Right. Neither one of them are doing well enough for anybody to care about what's going on behind the scenes.
It was a big thing when it came out that day on Twitter. But I don't think it's shaking any tables, because they've pretty much said how much this movie does not matter.
At the same time as they were also saying that James Gunn confirmed that none of the main DCEU superhero characters, which include Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, The Flash, and Cyborg, none of those characters will be coming back to the DCU to play the same characters. They specified the same roles. So what I found very interesting from that was that it bookends Gal Gadot's statement that she was, whether or not she told the truth or lied, this is the end. She's not coming back as Wonder Woman, and her Wonder Woman is over. Because it just says that they won't be coming back as the same characters.
It said
So a lot of people
were... they recast as Wonder Woman, it's going to be such a hot mess.
A lot of people thought that...
so much discourse around.
Before we get there,
Wonder Woman,
we got to get past James Gunn's Supergirl, which people already have worries about, because the Supergirl story that he's telling, well, it's a very feminist comic book.
Okay, I'm fine with that, but
and you want that to be produced by James Gunn.
Listen,
story plotline wise, it's about as depressing as the Birds of Prey film was, which was not too depressing, but was dark.
Birds of Prey was not. It was dark, but it wasn't like it wasn't depressing in terms of like everybody was just sad and mad at the world and down on their luck. And
it's not what that Wonder Woman comic was about,
that don't
but
mean
it was definitely about.
It
was definitely about a grittier, tougher take on Supergirl, who's also trying to help this alien child get revenge for her parents being killed, which, I mean, it's kind of the same in Birds of Prey. Huntress's whole plot line was going back to get the people. So I feel like that was dark, but not depressing.
I'm okay with dark.
Maybe they can go in that direction.
Because the Batman with Robert Pattinson is a darker movie, and I guess he was obviously a little depressed and down, but I don't know. There's a way to do it.
That movie the Batman was not sad.
No, I don't want to sad.
It didn't put you in a sad mood, but
superheroes.
Yeah.
Get it together. You're a superhero.
So we're never going to be seeing any of those returning cast members back in their original suits from the Snyderverse version of the DCEU. Discussions are over. Henry won't be back. Ben won't be back. I think Gal was the only person. Ben checked out.
Like, don't even ask me to come back. Thank you. Leave my name. Just don't even discuss me.
And which means that, I mean, a lot of these people we'll never see again on the big screen.
That's not true. Argyle's coming out in 3 months.
Okay.
And then
what else Gal Gadot got coming up other than the Fast and Furious?
She has Cleopatra.
Right? Okay. That hasn't started production.
And we also don't need it. And she also is going to be the evil queen in Snow White, which is probably going to be a bad idea.
So much bad stuff going on behind the scenes with that.
That is going to get backlash just because live actions are not well received anyway.
Ezra Miller is gone.
Well, yes.
I haven't heard of Ray Fisher being in anything. His stage play is coming to Netflix in a Hamilton-style production, but that's about it.
He's not in Rebel Moon at all, right?
He's in Rebel Moon.
Okay.
But Rebel Moon...
I mean, that's not big screen.
We're not calling that a success yet.
Well, it's not going to theaters. So you were saying like...
It'll have a limited theatrical release.
Oh, will it?
Maybe.
Will it?
I mean, I don't know. SAG-AFTRA and AMPTP negotiations have stalled again.
Halted. Nothing.
Sadness.
Sadness for me.
It sounds like the AMPTP walked away from the table very angrily and said that SAG-AFTRA is being unreasonable with their demands by asking.
I'm so tired of it.
Asking for.
And I'm not even an actor.
2% of their revenue to be turned over to them.
The offer that was offered to the SAG union was less than the initial offer. So the union countered, and then AMPTP walked away. And I'm just gonna say studios because I don't feel like saying that acronym. The studios walked away. The union is asking for AI protections, which is obvious because a clip came out from some Disney Plus movie called Prom Whatever. And there was a whole row of people in stands at a high school game that looked like Sims. Now, you would think it would be cheaper just to pay a couple people $100 to sit in this stand and cheer. But no, they decided to jack some Sims and put them in screens. So clearly actors need AI protection because who's to say those Sim-looking characters weren't actually people that they just kind of copied and replicated? But anyway, AI protections, higher pay, and more residuals from streaming seems to be the three things that the union and the studios are not agreeing to.
Yeah. Everybody who was reporting on the negotiations for the WGA said that SAG is next, and they said that SAG is going to be a little bit tougher to nail down than the WGA.
Here's the thing, though. Obviously, these unions are very serious, and they want to get paid, and they want to be treated fairly. Why are we playing these games? Why are the studios playing these games of like, well, we're going to offer you a deal that's less, so you're going to take it because you're so out of work and you need to get back to work? Like, what?
Well, that's because that's how negotiations go. It's not about compromise. It's about wearing one side down
We ain't got time
to surrender.
I need the Marvels to
In
be able
theory,
to do
negotiations are about people coming to their senses and compromising
Listen.
together. But in actuality, negotiation is about survival of the fittest and seeing who. It's like the Big Brother House challenge.
Yeah.
It's like the endurance challenges
where everybody has
on
to
road
stand
rules
or whatever.
It's like
for
who can last the longest doing this very tough thing until one caves and we can declare a winner.
I'm over it. The studios are being jerks. They need to pay these people their money. They need to give them the protections that they are asking for. I am 1,000% on the union side. But apparently, everybody else is also tired because on Friday, the WGA, which is the writer strike, the DGA, which is the directors who didn't even go through a strike, mind you.
No, they right before the strike, they reached a deal.
Right. So the directors never even went on strike.
No.
And 4 other unions in that same kind of space released a statement demanding that the AMPTP, aka the studios, resume negotiations immediately.
Teamsters is funny. Teamsters is one of the groups that wrote that as well.
That was on Friday. I didn't see anything in response to that. They're basically asking the studio, or basically telling the studios, y'all need to come back and negotiate. Y'all are being ridiculous. Let's get this over with.
Even though actors' worlds are falling apart around them, movies are still coming out. So
for now,
we're still getting a healthy roll-in of trailers. It seems like per week. So
yeah, we get a couple per week, actually.
We got a trailer number 2, which is for The Color Purple. This is The Color Purple's second trailer. The first trailer was the announcement trailer. This is, I guess, the story trailer. So, like Cheryl said previously, The Color Purple is set to come out on Christmas Day, surrounded by a bunch of other films around that same time.
But I would say the audience there's enough difference. So I think all those movies to do good.
Yeah.
I think.
It is based on the stage musical of the same name. It's not a retry of the film.
Yes, and I have this very long paragraph.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and read that? So
while in 1985 and the 2003 version of The Color Purple tell a similar story, the new film is crucially not a remake of the original one. Mm-hmm. In fact, they both take place outside of the core narrative of the book, and they have surprisingly little in common, which is interesting. One major difference is that the 2023 movie is not only an adaptation of the book, but also, like I already said, an adaptation of the musical, which has been on Broadway on and off since the mid-2000s. If readers are familiar, a similar example would be the distinction between Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films and then the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power TV series. So Lord of the Rings is based on, the
films are based on the books.
Right. And then the TV show is actually way before the films.
Based on another set of short stories or a short story. It's an adaptation.
Right, because some characters actually made up.
Right.
In Rings of Power. So, and that's actually interesting because you can watch Rings of Power and not watch Lord of the Rings and vice versa.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So that's
because the difference is so the span of time difference between the two is so vast.
Right. And I mean, there are certain some characters' parents are in Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, but you wouldn't need to know that to watch the show.
Right.
So basically you don't need to see the previous Color Purple to see this movie.
Halle Bailey stars as Nettie Harris. Fantasia Barrino as Celie. Danielle Brooks from Orange is the New Black is in here. Coleman Domingo, who's got that Rust movie coming out, is in here. Taraji P. Henson, who everybody knows, as well as Sierra. So
not just that, I pulled it up too. Her is in this.
Her is also in it.
Dion Cole. David Allen Greer.
Yes.
John Baptiste is in this.
I don't know if the Rings of Power comparison is a good thing. Because
not equality
amongst the Black community, Color Purple has a lot of loyalty. The film has loyalists. So,
correct, which is why they are trying to make the distinction that this is not a remake of the film, y'all. This is a different situation.
The stage play is not as popular as the film. It's a Broadway stage play. You have to have access to Broadway. Yeah. Most black families didn't have access to Broadway growing up, especially in 1985. But what they did do was have a tradition of yearly watching the 1985 Color Purple. So I don't think a general audience is going to have a sense of what this play is like. Yeah. This is just going to be completely compared to the film.
There will be some discourse around this, but I think based on the trailers that we've gotten, it looks good.
Right.
The singer's going to be singing. I think all the acting is also going to be good. I mean, Coleman Domingo.
Because I liked the Rings of Power. I thought the Rings of Power was good, but what I did not realize was that the Lord of the Rings has a lot of loyalists who like pure white bread Lord of the Rings with no changes
when they started
and no
adding
variations.
Some color into Rings of Power, they were upset.
And they tore it to pieces. So I feel like the Color Purple has the same type of loyalist.
You're right.
And
I don't disagree with that.
Our people can be very critical when it comes to change. So
we don't like our classics being touched.
I don't know if this is I think it's gonna be a good movie. I think it's gonna be successful.
I think people at least are going to go see it to talk about it.
It's gonna cause a lot of talk at the dinner table between the people who grew up with the original and the people who like this.
Y'all don't be destroying Christmas Day over no.
Yeah, it's gonna start a lot of Christmas Day arguments.
Don't do it, but definitely go out and support it. Check out the trailers because there are at least 2 trailers out.
Speaking of chocolate, we got another trailer.
It took me a second.
Wonka, which is supposed to be the origin story of the famous Willy Wonka, who owns the chocolate factory, and how he came to be Gene Wilder.
How about we just only needed Gene Wilder?
So this movie comes out December 15th. It stars Timothée Chalamet, who has made a name for himself in just smaller films like Call Me By Your Name and Bones and All. And
Dune?
It doesn't look like the anticipation for Dune 2 is as big as it was for Dune 1.
It doesn't end up moving it. I don't know. We talked about that, but I don't know if moving it was a great idea. But I am not interested in Wonka.
Yeah, so the story of Wonka, back to the topic at hand. The story of Wonka is basically about young Wonka versus Big Chocolate.
Is that his name?
No, that's what I'm calling the villains.
Well, they did not name name Big Chocolate.
Like Big Pharma would be in the real world. This is Big Chocolate.
Oh, that's what it's about.
Big Chocolate seems to be city officials and a little bit of the police who are trying who have their grip around the neck of chocolate sales in this
So it's kind of like McDonald's versus some indie chain of amazing burgers. Thurman's Cafe.
Yeah. So instead of Big Pharma, it's Big Chocolate. Wonka is creating delectable chocolate treats for a fraction of the cost and enough to where the poor people can also afford to buy chocolate,
there's something in the trailer where the rich people have an issue saying the word poor.
Yeah, chocolate was supposed to be a luxury item in its inception. Only the most richest of people could afford chocolate. Correct. Willy Wonka comes around and now everybody can afford chocolate. And the trailer is about how he first encounters the very first Oompa Loompa and how he gets the support.
Played by Hugh Grant.
How he gets popularity, takes down Big Chocolate, gets the support of the townsfolk, and amasses a fortune that he can use to open a chocolate factory. That's the plot of the movie, and that's how it's going to end.
Now, did you know? I'm sure you know this, but I don't know if people realize this is a musical. Could you imagine a Color Purple trailer? They're talking about this is based on a Broadway musical and nobody sings. This doesn't need to be.
These are all just actors. None of these are singers. And some of them are stage actors, but none of them are singers. So a couple things. I did not know. Was he always a magician?
What?
Because in the trailer he says, I'm something of a magician. And he does like all of these magical things with his candies. Like he's making them float. He's like almost has telekinesis. Like he's making them. Did you watch the trailer at all?
I did, but I'm more focused on a question of if he was, and I don't think that
I don't think he was a magician in the original. So they're introducing magic into this, which threw me off until it's said
called a fantasy film. So yeah, he's David Blaine.
So that threw me off that they're making him a magician now, until it's said later in the trailer, the movie is from the producers of Harry Potter. And I was like, oh, that makes sense because it has that Diagon Alley look.
I noticed that and I was kind of like, I expected this trailer to be better.
It has a lot, the set looks very Wizarding World of Harry Potter. But Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, it's set in the same time period.
It's got that Diagon Alley feel.
It looks like a kid's film on one hand.
I don't think kids are going to be that interested.
I don't think kids are going to be interested in it. And I think that's because Timothée Chalamet...
He should sing in the trailer for kids to be like, oh, this is fun. He's going to be singing chocolate songs.
There's not enough whimsy.
There's not. You're right.
And the thing with Gene Wilder is... Yeah. He was very whimsical. Mm-hmm. Johnny Depp's version was very whimsical. Because it's Johnny Depp. But it seems like they gave Timothy the same lines, but he just does not come across as...
He doesn't have that whimsical, eclectic, or funny. Eccentric.
Yeah, he's too serious.
He's not loosening up.
Yeah.
He need to loosen up.
Yeah.
And I'm over here, you can't see me, but I'm over here shaking my body.
Yeah.
He need to loosen up.
He needed to go more for... He should have channeled his best Tom Holland for this. Rather than
Tom Holland would have been good. I don't know if Tom Holland can sing. But
this Wonka movie looks like
would have had the moves.
This Wonka movie looks like if Atreides tried to open a chocolate factory. That's what I see when I look at this. I'm like, you're acting like Atreides. You sound like Atreides, and you should sound like Willy Wonka.
It's not giving OG Gene Wilder.
No,
at all. And I mean, I know I'm sure he's trying to put his own take on it, but I think the thing is, Paul King, who was the director of this, Timothée Chalamet was his first and only choice to play this.
Yeah.
Nobody
and I'm very confused.
So I looked this up. Before Chalamet was cast, Donald Glover, Ryan Gosling, and Ezra Miller were considered to portray the character initially.
Ezra Miller would have put off whimsy more, even though I don't support him getting the role. But here's the thing.
Ryan Gosling might have even been better, but Timothée
Chalamet was his first choice.
First and only, sir.
He was his first and only choice for this character, probably because one, Timothée Chalamet showed an interest in being in the movie, and two, if you have somebody that tabloids are calling the new Leonardo DiCaprio saying he's interested in starring in your movie, you're going to say, oh, of course Timothée Chalamet was my first and only, because who else? Who else?
It's funny if there's going to be comparisons between Color Purple and Wonka since they're both musicals.
It shouldn't be.
And they're both, but not only are they both musicals, they are also adaptations of older material. Older, I don't even know what you want to call it, older IPs.
True.
People are going to be like, people are going to be like, this is how you don't do it. And then people are going to be like, this is how you do it.
I think more people are more confident in one.
Oh, yeah.
Than the other.
You literally have Coleman Domingo playing the bad guy.
It looks like it would be a very entertaining streaming movie.
I don't even know if I want to.
It definitely looks like it's prime for streaming. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
We're not doing this one, right?
Speaking of streaming things, no, we're not.
Okay.
Monarch Legacy of Monsters, which is the spinoff TV series coming to Apple TV. Mm-hmm. I don't want to call it the Monsterverse because the Monsterverse is technically something else.
I think somebody tagged as the Monsterverse.
Really?
Officially.
Maybe it's like the Godzilla Monsterverse of movies or whatever.
I think they tagged it as Monsterverse.
So basically any of the monsters that have appeared in the Godzilla or the Kong movies. It is about two siblings, adult siblings, Asian brother and sister, whose father worked for Monarch, which is an international organization that works in the field of studying these giant creatures and trying to prevent the natural disasters that they cause. Their dad's gone missing. It appears that Monarch may be covering up the reason that he's gone missing, or
there's definitely
something else nefarious might have happened.
Correct, and they are trying to find out what exactly is going on. And as we mentioned before, this is Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell dynamic duo, father-son team.
Yeah, they play the same character across different generations,
which is pretty cool. I kind of like that concept.
I was surprised by this trailer.
Oh,
it definitely looks like it has. I knew I was interested in the show anyway, and I thought it was going to be good because Apple TV has already made a name for themselves as making good, at least well-produced streaming shows.
They're actually promoting this one too.
I didn't expect this to have so much action. I did not expect it to showcase the monsters as much as it did. I thought we would get like, because even in the first Godzilla movie, which was like 2 hours long, you only got like fractions of Godzilla until the end of the movie, and then you got full out Godzilla. So I thought they were going to do the same thing with the show, but it seems like the monsters are running throughout this whole movie. Show.
I like it.
Special screening of the first 2 episodes, I think, happened at New York Comic Con this past weekend.
Currently going on, actually.
The social media embargo and the review embargo has lifted. It's got its first handful of Rotten Tomato scores. It got a 90% so far out of 8 reviews. The visuals look like the film.
Look good.
Yeah, it looks on par with the film. We're definitely putting the same amount of budget into these shows. And Apple's got it. I like the cast so far, even though I don't know any of them. I like the scenes that we're seeing of them.
I like that they're adult kids. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I like that they're young adults.
Yeah.
They're not like CW young adults. They're like real world young adults.
I like them more than I would, and we haven't seen this, so I'm prejudging here. I like it more than in the Godzilla movies where you have Millie Bobby Brown's characters and they're like younger. Yeah. And they're a little more like, y'all are like 13. Y'all need to be in school. Why are y'all running around trying to save the world?
Yeah. Like these are real adults who don't have to go to school. They have...
you should not be out here. Go to class.
They have the time to do this investigation.
Right. It's more realistic. It kind of feels like Monarch is S.H.I.E.L.D., but there might be a little Hydra going on.
It seems that they're covering up this man's death.
He's missing.
Or maybe he's still missing.
We're not sure where the dad of the show is.
He's got to be dead. It looks like it's been 30 years and you're living on a world with monsters who just pop up wherever they want to.
I'm sure something was radioactive.
And you're chasing them. Right. You're working for the organization that pursues them actively. He's dead. But the mystery is finding out why and
Jared's calling it. He's dead. This comes out November 17th on Apple TV.
Do you think it's going to lead up to the movie? The new Godzilla Kong movie coming out where they discovered a new monster that's worse than the both of them that they have to team up and fight?
They seem different to me. Like, I know it's the same monster verse, but they seem like they're in different universes.
Maybe he went missing because of this mystery monster.
Maybe. I'm interested in the callbacks to Skull Island more than anything.
Yeah, well, it looks like we're getting flashbacks of specifically John Goodman's scenes, some added scenes.
Yes, because he's
in Skull Island.
Right, which I'm actually very curious about that, only because I really like Skull Island.
Yeah.
So
last but not least trailer we got this week. We actually got this last night. It's a surprise release trailer because I had no idea that this show was even coming out. Related? I believe this was Comic-Con related.
Okay.
It's an animated, not anime, but it's an animated sci-fi series. It's an adult series called Scavengers Reign. It premieres on the Max streaming service on October 19th.
In 5 days.
In 5 days.
Way to promote, Max.
It stars Wonmi Musaku, who, if you don't know who that is B-15 from Loki.
Hey.
And I'll give you a brief synopsis of the show. Okay. So Scavengers Reign takes place in the aftermath of a ship crash when a few survivors of a ruined interstellar cargo ship find themselves, I think the cargo ship is named Demeter 227, finds themselves scattered across an uncharted, hostile alien planet.
I love survivors. I love interstellar travel. And I love people being stranded on an alien planet.
Yeah.
Check.
Wonmi Musaku's character, who plays the main character named Azi, there are 3 planes of action because the crew members are scattered on different parts of the planet due to the aftermath of the crash. And they're trying to all find their way back to the ship while also navigating the wildlife that they will encounter on this hostile alien planet. So you have Wonmi Musaku, who plays the main character. She is accompanied by a robot named Levi, who's helping her find her way back to the ship. You have, on a different part of the planet, 2 other characters named Sam and Ursula, who are trying to find their way back to the ship. And on a third different part of the planet, you have a character named Kamen, who is stranded by himself with nobody else, trying to find his way back to the ship. It gives a lot of Ridley Scott Prometheus alien vibes.
When you sent it to me, I said, this reminds me of the anime movies we used to watch on Saturday mornings on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Like Aeon Flux.
Yep, like they were very obviously very adult, but also this could be like a live action movie. It's just animated. That's kind of what it kind of gave me.
So the animation style is, which is very funny. The animation style is
like Akira?
No.
Like
even though you spotted the Akira Easter egg of there's a scene of the character riding like this Akira motorcycle on the planet.
Or what's the one where Scarlett Johansson played an Asian person?
Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah. Is it Ghost in the Shell style?
No, that's based off the same type of animation.
Okay.
It's based off of an art style by a famous artist called Moebius.
Hilarious.
Yeah. If you Google Moebius, it's Moebius. Okay. You'll find a bunch of his drawings and paintings. But it looks very interesting. It's very adult. There's going to be some blood and there's going to be some aliens. And it looks like there's going to be people being transformed by being on this environment for too long. It looks like they're
through the thing that says, but the scariest use of ways of control their victims, there being the aliens on this planet, sometimes through a kind of hypnosis and other times through much more unsettling means. There's also a particular threat that grows quite literally over the course of the first season. It
looks like there's an overarching threat on the planet, but it also looks like a little bit of it is going to be psychological warfare. They're not just running away from monsters, they're being affected mentally by being on this planet.
If I'm trapped on the planet with some aliens, I'm going crazy.
Yeah, so
strap me to the table.
It definitely has the aliens, Prometheus, a little bit of Predator. Think of your big sci-fi film influences.
Event Horizon, maybe?
I would say Event Horizon.
But we don't know that yet.
On land. Like the psychological warfare is definitely Event Horizon-esque.
Definitely. There's another psychological thriller space movie that I was trying to think of, but Event Horizon nails it.
I'm definitely interested in seeing this. Anything that has to do with space and space mysteries, I'm definitely interested in seeing. And I love the fact that they waited to really promote and announce this until it was about to come out, so you don't have to waste too much time anticipating.
That's nice.
And you don't forget that it's coming out because it's coming out so close. So comes out on Friday. I will absolutely be watching that.
This is a show that gets bloody and gruesome while playing mind games with its various characters.
Yeah. And it's animated, which for that type of content, I think it would be a lot more digestible for some people.
It also works for Invincible, which also has season 2 coming out next month, where it's like, it's gritty, it's gory, it's really nasty, but because it's animated, you're like, I can do this.
Yeah. And you know what is very interesting, sidebar, that you say about that? Because they're trying to make Invincible, there's talks about making Invincible live action.
No.
Because it's received so well. And I think the reason Invincible, the animated show, is received so well is because the amount of gore and stuff that goes on in that show is a lot more digestible as an animated show, which is exactly why I think Gen V is not doing so well.
I'm tapped out of Gen V and I didn't even tap in.
Gen V isn't doing so well.
Unfortunately.
Just like the last season of The Boys was received really well, but viewership wise, they're not doing so well because the subject matter is a little too graphic for a lot of people to see in live action.
Gore. Like I'm pretty good with gore if it's not torture. So I won't watch Saw, but I will watch like Kill Bill. You could consider gory because she's slicing people's limbs off. I have no issue with that. I actually didn't have any issue with The Boys until the gore got into that sexual content territory, and I'm like, this isn't I mean, it's just, I'm no prude, but there's a limit.
And that's a lot of people's criticisms for why they stopped tuning into The Boys, and why a lot of people, why Gen V just can't pick up enough viewership is because I think that they
that one particular episode
had too much confidence in the stomach strength of viewers to watch some of this stuff.
It's just doing too much. Like, I don't mind certain sexual content, but when you start like taking it to a level that doesn't really advance the plot at all,
they're taking it to like American Pie levels of inappropriate.
But it's gory American Pie level. It's not just gross sexual humor.
It's not play for laughs. It's kind of play to make you uncomfortable.
Right. Like it's not gross. It's gory gross.
Yeah.
And there's a limit to what. So once there was a thing that came out about something that they built, a male body part that they built for the Gen V set. And I was like, I'm not even going to bother. Because why? There's nothing you can tell me that was needed for that plot. Getting back though,
in summation,
bringing it back in, animated gore is totally fine if it's well written, and Invincible is a very good example of doing that, and them turning it into live action I don't think is a good idea.
This film reminds me of Annihilation.
Okay. That was live action with Natalie
That was
Portman.
with Natalie Portman and Tessa Thompson.
That would have been interesting animated.
It was on Earth though, but
right.
because that meteor changed the environment, it also affected them in ways that they didn't expect because they were there too long. And that's what this animated Scavengers Reign looks like.
That movie would have been cool animated because it has some very weird things going on in nature.
And it has some very unsettling live action parts that really stick with you, like the bear who copies the screams of the people it eats.
Yeah, and it looked gross. So this looks good. I guess I like that kind of stuff when it's animated.
Yeah. So that is the news and trailers and scoops we have for the week. We're going to take a short break and we're going to jump into our early series review of Goosebumps.
For spooky season.
Okay. Time for the Goosebumps.
So we watched the first 3 episodes of the new Goosebumps series. It is live action.
Yep.
It is for teenagers?
Teenagers. Definitely not young adult.
It's a teenage horror comedy of sorts.
Yeah, definitely a comedy.
Okay. We'll call it a teenage horror comedy. It released on Friday the 13th in October 2023. On Hulu and Disney Plus. It's a part of Hulu's Huluween.
Yes.
And Disney Plus's Halloween. I don't know if they call theirs anything at all. It was developed by Rob Letterman, who directed Detective Pika Pika. I put Pika Pika in our notes, but Detective Pikachu, which starred Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yes.
Oh, he does some interesting movies. And then it was also developed by Nicholas Stroller, who directed Bros. And if you don't remember what Bros is, don't bother.
No.
It is starring Justin Long and a bunch of newcomers.
Yes.
That's literally what my note says. Justin Long is probably the most famous person in this show. The dad in this is famous, but I don't remember what his name is. It doesn't have a lot of A-list people in this, guys. It's definitely your run-of-the-mill kind of TV B-list-ish actors.
Yeah.
And some actors you probably don't even know, which is all of the kids. Runtime is, I don't know, each episode goes about 35 to 45 minutes, but there are 10 in this first season. Only the first 5 are currently out, and then it's going week to week, which I'm going to talk about why I don't think that's a great strategy. We don't know budget. Didn't come out in the theater, so no box office. Ratings, it has a 74% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a whopping 69 from audience.
Which makes sense.
It makes perfect sense about, it fits. It definitely fits. Do we want to do a non-spoiler synopsis first before we get into spoilers for the first 3, or are we just going to all right.
I think because it's Goosebumps, you can't spoil too much about it, and because it's not even, this doesn't even spoil the books.
Correct. Okay.
So
that's fair.
There's not really much to spoil.
If you have not read the Goosebumps books, you've had your chance. This series probably actually won't spoil it either.
Yeah,
so you can still go back
watch this and
read all 63
and have a fresh experience.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right. So the summary of this series is, or I guess the plot summary of this series is that there is a haunted house. A teenager in 1983 or 93, died in the house. A mysterious fire that was started by a mysterious force. Kid died in the house. The house sits empty for 30 years. Justin Long, who
is the closest living relative
correct. So
of the people who used to live there.
He inherits the house. He moves in. He's a teacher at the school of this we're going to call it a small town. It doesn't seem like
it's a lake town. It's like Twilight.
It's not LA.
Yeah.
It's not even Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. It's like the same town from Twilight.
There you go.
Yeah.
They live in Twilight Town. Mm-hmm. And he is a teacher at Twilight Town High School. And all of the kids in the show are students at this high school.
Yeah.
And things start happening. People start getting hurt. People start seeing the future. There's some mysterious force who is basically the ghost of the kid haunting the kids of the parents. Because there's some connection to the boy who died 30 years ago and the parents of the kids who are the stars or the main characters of the show. And the purpose of the series is to figure out, why is this dead kid's ghost trying to kill these kids and get back at the parents?
So I'm gonna clean up a little bit.
I think I got it. Did I not get it? Okay.
Basically, also Justin Long buys the haunted house.
Yeah,
gets possessed by the evil spirit that lives there.
I said that part.
Who was a student at the school.
Correct.
With the parents of the children.
Oh, right. Okay, you're right.
The parents bullied the kid and did something awful to him.
We don't know that yet.
They confirmed that they did something awful to him.
But
It's not confirmed whether they're bullies every day, but they confirmed that they did something awful to him.
Right, and at the onset of the show, you don't know what that thing is. You just know that Billy, I don't know. I think his name is Billy. We'll call him Billy. Billy, the kid who died in the house, is very upset due to something that the parents did prior.
Yeah, so the spirit of Billy possesses Justin Long and uses Justin Long's body to enact revenge on the kids of the kids he went to school with who bullied him or did something awful to him.
But the parents are all alive.
And the parents are all alive. He's not going after the parents. He's going after the kids. Their descendants, their kids.
But we don't.
And you're probably wondering, okay, so what does the Goosebumps play a factor in this? Because we haven't even gotten to that.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get that.
The only Goosebumps connection to this reboot is the fact that the kid who died owned a lot of spooky artifacts that were plot devices in all of the Goosebumps books.
It's Goosebumps in prop, not in storyline.
Yeah.
That's why you can still read these books and not be spoiled if you watch this series.
Goosebumps was an anthology series in the same vein as Twilight, to where they were not connected stories. So basically, when this reboot, what they did was they just made it one.
Twilight was connected though.
Twilight Zone, sorry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, hold up.
Yeah, Goosebumps.
Fair enough. Yep.
Was an anthology series like the Twilight Zone, and in where they weren't connected. They were just individual
every
stories.
Episode was something.
What
different.
they did was in this reboot, they made it all one long connected story.
Yeah.
Centered around the same group of people who just come into contact with the artifacts from the Goosebumps books and their hijinks. You nailed it pretty early on when the show was announced in the plot synopsis, and I think we got the first teaser, and you said that it was going to feel very Jumanji-esque. They put a Jumanji spin on Goosebumps.
Right, because they're like going around town, trying to find things, trying to solve things, running into things, and being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, kind of like how Jumanji, everything that happened in Jumanji was based on the certain character's dice roll, and it was something different.
Right.
And Goosebumps is based on a different artifact that the character finds or steals.
Runs into.
And what happens is different based on what artifact they experience. So the first 3 episodes are about they use the same titles as the Goosebumps stories and books.
So each title is a title of a book. So Say Cheese and Die. I'm going to look them up real quick because I forgot.
There's Say Cheese and Die. There is The Haunted Mask. Yep. And there is, I think it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
You was in the right family. The Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
The Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Not One Who Flew. I'm using that as a soundbite. So those are the 3 that we watched. The other 2 that are out that we didn't watch were Go Eat Worms and Reader Beware.
Which Don't Eat Worms is about the supernatural worms, and Reader Beware is about a photo book that has a bunch of cryptic supernatural things happening in them, and I think that affects the real world.
So they don't really they're using Goosebump as a marketing tactic for this show. they could have called it anything else.
Yeah.
Had the same storyline.
The Goosebumps is a plot device, but it doesn't.
They even could have said adapted. They could have called it something else and said adapted from the R.L. Stine series of books. Goosebumps.
Yeah, because like you said, this show could have been completely different, a completely original series, and it didn't have to be tied to Goosebumps at all. I would have received it the exact same way, which I think is mid. It's very mid. It's not bad. It has moments of interesting writing.
Yeah. So okay. Let's.
You want to do episode by episode?
No, we can kind of summarize it all up as we go and jump back and forth. It opens with our introduction to the boy, the original Billy. I'm calling him Billy the Ghost because I'm not bothering to look.
He's
up
technically
his name.
Billy the Ghost. Yeah.
Billy the Ghost. We see how he dies. But it's got that typical scary movie. Something happens and then you go outside and check and you're like, idiot. Why would you go out? So it's got that typical people are in a scary situation and they do the thing they shouldn't do, and you're supposed to be like, oh, that's interesting. It's not. It's play by play. You hear a knock at the door. You open up the door. No one's there, but you go outside anyway, and you're like, why would you go outside, idiot? The person could be out there waiting for you.
It takes moments. I don't know whether it's paying homage or stealing moments from Evil Dead movies, where there's an unseen entity moving through the forest, and it blows open the front door, and you think it's the wind, but you think nothing of it because the wind frequently blows open people's front doors that are locked.
Yeah, locked
and
doors.
then it knocks over some candles, and then sets a fire, and then a creepy demon face appears in the flames.
CGI wasn't great.
Yeah, it borrows a lot from the Evil Dead, where you don't see the entity or the evil spirit. It's just it's shot as like wind moving through a hallway.
And by the third episode, you still don't know. Maybe they're saving that to the end, but you don't know
why it's happening.
Right, you don't know why the little boy died at the beginning.
Yeah.
We don't know why Billy was a target. By episode 3, you still don't know. You just know that Billy is upset when he is possessed when he gets out of the basement, basically, and takes over Justin Long.
So the first episode is Say Cheese and Die, which, if you're not familiar with it, it's about, the moral of that book is about a Polaroid camera, that if you take a picture of somebody with the camera, it shows you a picture of their death.
Right.
So
But not in this case.
But not in this case. In the show format, the Isaiah, who's the main character of the show, who's one of the main students and is a football player.
He's a star quarterback.
He's the typical high school jock character. Except he's not mean. They don't make him mean. He's well-liked by everybody, but he's just the dumb jock.
He's not academically smart, but he seems street smart.
Yeah. So he comes across this camera that he's stolen from the haunted house, because they all have either stolen or encountered something in the haunted house.
They are stealing artifacts from a house that they don't own, that nobody's lived in for 30 years.
Yeah, they break into the house
where Billy the Kid died. Like, everybody knows that Billy the Kid died in this house, and they are taking things from the house.
So it's well known that he burned to death in the very specific spot in the house. And they all venture...
Just taking little trinkets from the house.
They all venture onto the scene of his death.
Yeah, just taking little...
And just take things...
Take a camera.
Mere feet away from where he burned alive.
Let me take a mask. And mind you, the basement looks pretty good to be burned up.
So for all intents and purposes, they're grave robbing. Because he technically burned alive right there.
I mean, they also trespassed when they had a Halloween party at the house.
Yeah.
But
so they're grave robbing.
Minor details, y'all.
And so the star character Isaiah steals the Polaroid camera. He starts taking pictures of people with the Polaroid camera.
Because he doesn't know any better yet.
All of the pictures develop showing terrible things happening to these people that probably would have killed them, but he always shows up to save them from what happens in the Polaroid
I actually
photo.
don't think the premise of the camera is supposed to show them dying, and more of something happens to them, because his picture was his arm was broken. Like, he wasn't gonna die from that.
Yeah, everything he took a picture of came to pass, just nobody died.
Right, and I don't think any of the main characters are going to. I don't think any of the teenagers that are main characters are actually going to die.
No, I don't think this movie has the stakes to do that.
No.
The second episode, which is The Haunted Mask, if you're familiar with that, that is this book about a girl. Now, I think the original story is about a girl who comes across a haunted mask in a Halloween shop.
Yes.
That she buys. And
she puts it on.
The mask gives her powers.
I don't recall what the mask did for her. It wasn't what it's not like in a show where it gave her confidence.
I know that the caveat to it was that the longer you wear the mask, it becomes harder to remove.
Right.
And that's the same in the show, except for in this reboot show, the mask is one of the spooky artifacts that the little creepy ghost Billy Boy owned. One of the main characters, a different character, steals it because the mask in this show gives the wearer more confidence. And the mask basically is the devil on your shoulder telling you to do the bad thing because it'll make you feel good. It literally
talks to her.
It talks to her. So it gives her more confidence, which I don't think it gives her more confidence. It just makes her meaner. It makes her say the things she wants to say, but she holds back from people.
Yeah, and also turns into a super soldier.
And then it turns into a goblin, a super strong goblin-like creature. Because the longer you wear it, it becomes harder to remove. Now She wore it for too long to wear
into a goblin.
It fused to her face and she turned into like this super powerful, super creepy goblin creature that they had to fight off. Yeah. The third episode you said is called what again?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not right. The third one is called The Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
This one is about...
This one, it was actually the better of the
That
three.
one was the better of the three episodes, and it's about one of the main characters who hits his head on a cuckoo clock. And because he hit his head on a cuckoo clock, and because the spooky stuff jumps off even if you interact with something. Because he didn't technically steal anything from the house.
No,
he just touched
they were
something.
trying to get into the basement, and I think they fell back and he hit his head, and the bird came out.
Interacting with the cuckoo clock puts you in a time loop where you're trapped in a house to live the same loop of time over and over again until eternity. And if you try to leave the house, what happens is you don't actually leave. You split off into a multiverse variant of yourself,
basically,
who leaves the house with all of your memories
and your clothes.
But so you split off into an exact copy who leaves the house, but you are always stuck in the house. And every time you try to leave, you split off a new copy.
And he tries to leave he tries to go through the front door, the back door, jump off the roof, and he tries to do it at least a dozen times.
And this is why I thought this is one of the moments where I thought the writing was good, because we're on episode 3 at this point, and throughout the first 3 episodes, they do a lot of time jumps. So you'll be in episode 1, and then episode 2 will start in the middle of where episode 1 started, but you're in a different part of the story that you did not see before in the first episode.
Right, it's like a different point of view, and it's actually not too confusing. Like once you realize, oh, this is the scene from episode 1. Okay, I'm here.
And I say the writing was good because in episode 2, we get a scene with this character who is named James.
Sweater? We're talking about Sweater?
Sweater, because he wears all the cool sweaters.
He does have a nice assortment of sweaters.
We run into this character named James in episode 2 who says that he made out with a different character,
Sam,
at a house party that took place in episode 1. And we were like, we didn't see that happen. That's not what happened.
They don't
and
show
then
that.
we find out in episode 3, James is actually stuck in a time loop. And he did make out with the other character. But because we don't know that he's been living in a time loop for, I want to say,
a week
at this point, that he's just experiencing the same time. So he did actually make out with one of these characters.
Because he uses each time he loops to learn something from the previous time.
To go back
to basically earn the dude that he has a crushes on interest. So which was kind of, it was well written. I'll give him that.
It was kind of like a Happy Death Day type of thing, where at the end of every day, she gets murdered and starts back at the same point of time. He uses it to his advantage to learn things about people so that he can control the outcome.
Correct.
Basically.
He's trying to control what the guy, he's basically trying to learn the guy, but he's doing that by restarting time.
Right. So he can fake that he's interested in all the things the guy's interested in because he's already asked him all those questions.
Correct. And that was, I think that's why episode 3 was probably the best of the 3.
And so that was the most interesting episode to me. And also because we got a couple more things at the end of that episode. One, we find out that all the variants that split off of him are evil.
They are not good people.
They're not good. They're evil goo clones made out of goop.
Yeah, they're made of slime. Like Nickelodeon
if you bop them
slime.
on the head, they blow up into slime, and that's how you can tell which one is the real one and which one is just a copy. I thought that was good. I thought that it was very interesting that you got to see how many times he actually tried to leave the house versus how many times
tried to get out
they showed you.
Lot.
He at least 20 times. There are at least 20 copies of him.
And it's funny because you would think after maybe the 10th time, and you know what though? He was also probably doing it so he could go make out with the dude.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe the first 10 times he was like, I'm stuck. And then he was like, okay, well, I'm just going to use it to my advantage because I'm getting out of here.
He discovers that the time loop is attached to the cuckoo clock. So he decides if he breaks the cuckoo clock, it breaks the time loop. And he's right. He breaks the cuckoo clock and he breaks the time loop and he's able to leave for real. Yep. But he's already created 20 evil people. Copies of himself that are running around the town.
Correct.
Trying to ruin his life.
Oh, yeah, they do pretty good until his friends figure out, wait a second, something ain't right.
Issues I had with the writing as well, though, some of the conflict was forced. For example, in that very episode, the James character with the clones...
Sweater.
Has an issue with the fact that it took a week for his friends to realize that they were actually talking to clones of him and not the real him. And they tried to spin it off into the, oh, you guys overlook me all the time because I'm gay.
It didn't work.
And it's, no, the reason you were overlooked is because the clones had all your memories. It's
and
not
your clothes.
They had your memories, your clothes. They lived in your house.
Sounded like you.
They were coordinated.
Right. And the only reason why it was an accident that the one girl even found out he was a clone because she was literally just shooting pool. And because
she killed one on accident and didn't realize that there was even any cloning going on. Right. And that's what started off the whole thing.
It was forced.
Yeah, it was they tried to stick in they tried to have the Goosebumps-esque there's a lesson at the end of the story thing where, don't overlook your friends because they're different.
And they try to do that in the other 2 episodes as well, and it felt forced.
And it's not the same. If they're clones of you with your memory, with all the memories you have up until when you got
know the difference?
Our whole friendship.
Right.
These clones know everything about me. So
I didn't. Part of the writing I didn't like was the trope of there's a jock who's the quarterback and he's failing at school because smart jocks who do great at schoolwork can't be a thing. And he has a girlfriend and his best friend is also a girl. And there's that conflict of the girlfriend and the best friend don't like each other. I was like, why do we need
the girlfriend knows that the best friend really likes him, but he's being oblivious. So that's
and
creating
the
tension.
Best friend and him have been friends because they've been neighbors since they were toddlers in diapers and they have their own secret language. And it's just like, it just muddied the plot and it was kind of unnecessary and it actually doesn't do anything in the grand scheme of the story.
Yeah, they were doing like old CW show plot lines, and it's like we're in 2023.
We also don't have all day.
Right, we don't have all day. We don't have all day. This is supposed to be another limited series. You guys have taken the source material.
Right.
You've thinned it all the way out.
And
then you're still
tropes.
Dragging it for 10 episodes.
Right. And adding tropes that don't advance the plot line.
And this is exactly why I say that Disney needs to apply that MCU, that new revamped vision of MCU logic to all their shows across the board.
Yeah.
I didn't like some of the writing on the characters as far as their decision making.
I mean, they're teenagers, so I think they're supposed to be dumb.
50% of the reason I enjoy slashers is because I enjoy the characters in 2 ways. I enjoy rooting for the smart character to survive, the smart good characters to survive, and I enjoy rooting for the characters who deserve to be hacked off being hacked off.
Now, you said a very interesting thing where we were watching this where you said everybody's awful.
Yeah. So I had an issue at the beginning of watching this because everybody is awful and there was nobody you can root for.
Bad decisions, the parents are whack.
Mm-hmm.
The kids ain't got no common sense. The teachers around the kids ain't no good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the parents are cheating with each other.
Yeah,
and
there's
just
adultery going on.
Who am I supposed to be rooting for here?
You want to root for
Billy the Ghost?
one of the main character girls who's the president of the film club in the show, and she's been tasked by the football coach to use her little drone to record football game footage for the school. And one of the idiot characters tries to do something funny for TikTok, and he breaks her $3,000 drone. So for the first half of the episode, you feel bad for her because she's a high school student who got her $3,000 drone broken. And you're thinking, I'm thinking, this probably cost her like her years and years of saving to buy this drone because she really wants to be the president of the AV club.
$3,000.
And you're rooting for her to get her justice. And you're not mad when she goes off and tells off the idiot and tells off the guidance counselor for not doing what they should be doing. And then later on, you find out that it's not her drone, it's her dad's drone that she stole from the house without permission and took it to school. And that's how it got broken. It's like, I can't root for anybody because everybody here is doing something wrong.
It just didn't. I'm not sure whose side I'm on, and I'm just kind of like, and even the villain, you're not on his side because you don't even know why he mad yet. You're just kind of like, why are you going after the kids instead of going after the parents who are all alive?
I don't know why the villain, the ghost of Billy is going after the descendants and not the living parents. It
Maybe
makes
because
sense.
he's still a kid. Like, so he died as a teenager and his ghost is still a teenager.
It makes sense for him
so maybe that's why.
And he possesses another adult to do it. It makes sense if he would possess another adult.
Well, he possessed an adult because Jason Long cuts his hand and the blood goes into the floor.
Yeah, and it's still from Hellraiser, where the guy cuts his hand and it revives the spirit living in the house.
The spirit. I mean, okay.
I think it's still bad writing. I think if
he should have possessed a kid.
If a ghost of a kid is gonna come back to haunt the people who did him wrong,
he should be a kid.
If they're still living, they would still go after the people who did him wrong. He should either go after the
parents, or he should have possessed a kid to be closer to the kids. Like, he possessed a teacher, and the teacher is like an English teacher. So he's not even like a guidance counselor or a football coach or, Or
maybe he just possessed them because they're related. We don't know that either.
You're right.
But they did the same thing on Nightmare on Elm Street.
What is that?
Freddy Krueger.
I mean, what did they do?
The parents are the one who burned Freddy Krueger alive, and he came back as an evil spirit, and he went after their kids, even though the parents were all still alive.
Okay, so this is a typical thing.
It's a typical thing. I don't think it's a good choice, but
it's not. All the dots are not connecting, and that's fine because it's episode 3. But some of the dots don't seem to be fully fleshed out dots.
No,
they're like eclipses.
So those are the story beats. You'll just watch the show. You'll see the episode title. So if you're familiar with that Goosebumps story, you'll be familiar with
the plot
what the MacGuffin in the story is going to be. But it's going to have nothing to do with the original, the original novels.
That's not the worst offense of this show.
The worst offense of it is the CW drama.
Yes, the side drama with the teenagers, I do not care about.
Teenage love triangles.
Don't care.
The star player not being able to play because he doesn't have the good grades and he injured himself.
And his parents are trying to vicariously live through him. The
girl who has no social skills but knows how to be mean online.
Yeah, she's an internet troll. So the girl, the mask wearer episode, we realize that she's an internet troll because she doesn't have a social life in school, but we don't know why she doesn't have a social life.
The shallow character who's rich, but also the parents are drunk and doesn't really pay attention to them at all.
Also that trope.
Yeah.
And then we have the cheating parents.
Yeah, I think the show would have been a lot better if they were, what the show would have been. It would have been better if the show was structured around the same group of people, but it was still an anthology where every episode happened to a different student at the school, but they all weren't like friends and they all didn't come together and try to figure out the mystery together. It's just like, these things are all happening in this small, creepy town to all these different people.
I'll end it on a positive note. The diversity of the cast is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very diverse. They have one of everybody in here.
most certainly do.
Yeah.
So that is good. The episodes actually don't feel too long, even though they stretched about 30, 40 minutes. It didn't feel like it was
The episodes didn't feel long.
It didn't, but the story overall is feeling like it's dragging. I don't know if it, and I was alluding to this earlier, I don't know if it was a good idea to make this week to week, because this is going to end in November, and I don't know if anybody's going to care.
Yeah, this is going to shoot way past Halloween.
Yeah, I think it's going to shoot way past people's interest.
It's going to shoot past people's interest. I'm very interested in what the viewership numbers of this is going to be.
They should have just did 2 chunks, like the first 5 and the second 5, because there's no way I'm watching this. I don't care enough to watch week to week.
And the story's not strong enough for it to go on for another 5 weeks with one episode per week.
And I don't know if I would even wait and binge it. I'm curious of how it ends, because with the episode we left on, there's a lot of plot threads that need to be sewn up. So I'm curious about the end. I don't know if I want to take the journey to get there.
So where we ended on the end of episode 3, it ends on a cliffhanger where Justin Long, who's possessed by the spirit of Billy, who's dead, has been using the Evil James clones, the last surviving ones, to track down a suitcase for him. And one of the clones says, "Hey, we found what you were looking for." He opens the suitcase, and the only thing inside of it is a top hat. And he says, "He's missing. Where is he?" And it's a teaser for Slappy the Dummy,
which is not until episode 6.
The Night of the Living Dummy.
Night of the Living Dummy is episode 6, and then Night of the Living Dummy Part 2 is episode 9, and then Welcome to Horrorland, which you said was the most popular book, right? That is the title of episode 10,
so that makes
series
sense.
finale.
If you're unfamiliar with Night of the Living Dummy, that is about the evil ventriloquist doll, Slappy, who wants to take over a living host. It's Goosebumps' take on... Yeah. Well, actually, Child's Play would be the take on Goosebumps.
Gotcha.
Because Goosebumps was the original.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see live action Slappy either.
I'm interested.
You watch it and you tell me if I can handle it.
I'm at least interested. As a kid, Slappy gave me nightmares.
Yeah,
I did not like.
He is a doll and he doesn't look friendly.
As a child, toys were my safe space. What I didn't want to see was a toy that wanted to kill me.
Listen, that's why it's funny, because I wasn't a fan of Megan toys. Was great, and I watched Megan. I could watch Megan again and again. You will not catch me watching Chucky, ever.
Yeah. So
I'll
keep my eye on it. I'm not going to watch it week to week loyally. I am going to check in on it when it ends to see how it ended.
I'm very curious to how it ends.
And I do want to see the Night of the Living Dummy episodes, because Slappy is the most recognized. Slappy and the Mask are the most recognizable things from Goosebumps.
Correct.
Like, anybody who sees them knows that they're
Slappy's
from Goosebumps.
is the mascot of Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. He's the big bad of Goosebumps. So I'm interested to see what they do with him and if he holds up and is as unsettling.
They got to at least get that part right.
Yeah. So did we like it? It was okay.
It was okay. I agree with the Rotten Tomatoes audience score.
I agree
69.
with both of them.
Yeah, I would agree with both. I'm glad we checked it out for curiosity's sake. I'm very curious to see what the numbers are, and I'm very curious to how it ends. So I will leave it on that note.
Yeah. Would we change anything if we could? I think I would make it. I would take it back to anthology, where they're not connected stories.
I would not call it Goosebumps.
I would also not call this Goosebumps.
I would just call it something else.
Yeah. This has this kind of has the air around it as a writer came in and pitched it, and the producers are like, "That sounds really great, but we also have to do something with this Goosebumps IP. So how about we mash these two things together?" I
would not doubt that that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
To the letter.
So that's what it seems like. Was any characters that you liked?
I actually like the main character. After the first episode,
the Isaiah character,
I like he's not a dumb jock. I wouldn't call him a dumb jock because he has street smarts. He's the typical, he doesn't do his schoolwork or whatever. I liked him the most. He's the most enjoyable.
Yeah.
For sure.
I pretty much think he's the only enjoyable character. The rest of them.
I don't think anybody else.
I liked the
little girl's brother.
The president of the AV Club's little brother.
Yes.
who's not listed here in front of me on the cast list.
He was kind of out acting everybody.
He reminded me a lot of the little brother in Transformers Rise of the Beast.
I can see that.
Anthony Ramos' little brother.
I can see that.
Very charismatic. Definitely did really well with his lines. He was funny.
He was funny.
And he wasn't annoying. I like the fact that he was the little brother, but he was not the annoying little brother. Like, it seemed like the brother-sister dynamic.
The brothers got to be
each
overly.
other. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't seem like he was a nuisance to her. She actually didn't mind having him around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I like that. Overall, I give it... We were discussing our out of 10 ranking yesterday, and I gave it a 6, and you said you give it a 7.
I would give it a 7. I'm right in the middle of the critics and the audience on Rotten Tomatoes there.
Was there a favorite line or scene so far that you've seen?
Yes, the scene in the last episode. So Sweater is clones, and you know that he's a clone if you bop him on the head and he turns into goo. Mm-hmm. Now the two main characters don't know that, but the third girl,
who's not their friend,
AV Club girl, who actually has killed a clone on accident, she comes literally out of nowhere while they are talking to Sweater, a clone of Sweater, and just whacks that man with a baseball bat.
He blows up.
He blows up into the Nickelodeon glue, and the two friends are just like, "Did you just blow up our friend?
You just kill him?"
And she's like, "Listen, I need to tell y'all what's going on." Because right before that happened, I was like, somebody needs to just hit him in the head. Just hit him in the head.
Yeah.
And y'all will find out. But of course, they're not going to naturally just bop their friend in the head. She come back with that baseball bat like, wham.
Yeah, because once she accidentally kills him.
She knows the deal.
And she tries to tell the parents, like, this is not the real boy. There's obviously something going on because I accidentally just killed a clone of him.
Yeah.
Nobody believes her, of course.
Of course.
So we take a break from her and we're focusing on the other main characters for a little while. And while we're focusing on the other main characters who are talking to a clone, I'm like, where is the girl? The girl would be me with a bat running around trying to hunt him.
We were both looking for her.
And in reality, that's where she was. We weren't with her because she's been running around bopping his clones in the head, trying to kill them all and figure out which one is the real one.
That was definitely the best scene of all three.
Yeah, because when she showed up and she bopped him on the head and blew him up, I was like, thank you. Finally, somebody's out here doing the work and getting rid of these dudes.
Yep.
So yeah, I liked it. I was wondering if like this would be a good thing to stream on Halloween for the kids. Yeah. For kids who are too young to watch things that are actually spooky because you're afraid it might give them nightmares or something. With that. This is absolutely something to put on. It's not even as spooky as the original Goosebumps.
No. Yeah.
It's not as serious as the original Goosebumps.
I think that's why. It's not as scary because it's not as serious. Mm-hmm. Because Goosebumps books end kind of like the Twilight Zone episodes end, where it's kind of like, wait a minute, that's not how that was supposed to go. And you have this like eerie kind of like, ooh, this is unsettling. Yeah. This does not have that because it's like teenagers and they're, it's kind of got some comedy to it.
Yeah, this is absolutely Halloween kids
family Halloween for sure.
Yeah, family Halloween. So those are our thoughts on Goosebumps. We won't cover this week to week and we won't do an end of the series review.
We might come back if we check out how it ends.
We might in a random episode once it's over.
We'll put it on the agenda.
Sprinkle in our thoughts on it as well.
I like that.
All right. So what are we doing for the next
episode? We are watching Totally Killer. We're doing 2 spooky season episodes, guys, which is great because, as you already know, sure don't watch horror. So, but this is a slasher, so I think I'll be able to handle it. Okay. And it's not a supernatural slasher, right? Oh, we don't know.
Totally Killer? No. Oh, okay. Well, the only supernatural element about it is the time travel.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's Back to the Future. It's if Back to the Future
was a horror movie
meets
Scream.
The Slumber Party Massacre.
Okay. Yeah. I can handle that. And I just looked it up. It's a sweet hour and 43 minutes.
Nice.
All right. So definitely check out our next episode where we do another spooky season special for the slasher Totally Killer. Check out Goosebumps. Let us know your thoughts. You can go on to our website now, vaguelynerdypodcast.com, and leave us a voicemail. You can also leave us a comment. You can also leave us a review. And if you leave us a voicemail, we can play it on our show. So any other final thoughts, Jay?
No, that's all I got.
All right. See you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.